Hello and a very good morning to you. Welcome back to the News Center here on KTN News. My name is Sophia Wanuna. Let's continue with the news to a story that is developing, and the government is calling doctors back to the negotiating table following their resolve to go on strike next week. Health Cabinet Secretary Cleopa Mailu says the call to strike by the doctors' union was in bad faith and meant to frustrate government efforts to address the issues raised by the Employment and Labor Relations Court last month. The doctors in public hospitals intend to down their tools come Monday after the expiry of their 21-day strike notice. The doctors are demanding implementation of a new package agreed on in 2013 and said they will not enter into any other collective bargaining agreement until the salary structure negotiated and signed by the two sides 3 years ago is implemented.
In 2013.
All right, let's get more about this pending strike by the doctors. In studio with me is Dr. Daisy Korir. Thank you for being with us. So what are the issues from where you sit and as far as the doctors and the government and this particular standoff?
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Daisy Korir. I'm the National Treasurer for Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union. And from where we sit currently, is that we've had a collective bargaining agreement that was agreed between us and the government in 2013. And since then, the government signed, that was the Ministry of Health, and afterwards failed to register or implement the same. So all that the doctors are asking for is, can it be implemented? And we waited for a painful 3 years trying to seek for registration and implementation of this CBA. And when we realized that the CBA was coming to an expiry, that was in 2015 June, we went ahead and decided, being law-abiding citizens, to seek the intervention of the courts. So we've been in court for nearly 1.5 years now with the same CBA, and the court gave us a ruling recently on October 6th, 2016, that was favorable to us. The court recognized that we had an agreement back then in 2013, and that the same agreement should be implemented after we get an input from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, which is what we are still waiting for. So even as the minister says that we have pulled out from negotiations, that is absolutely not true. We've been negotiating in good faith until the point where the same ministry and us agreed that we need input from SRC.
All right.
Yes.
So this input is yet to come.
It is yet to come.
So then why go on strike before you've been able to exhaust all the measures that have been put in place?
So the strike notice was issued earlier on, before any of these negotiations began. When the court ruling came out on October 6th, it gave the ministry 30 days to call us to the table to negotiate. But within those 30 days, there was nothing that was happening. They did not call for any meetings. And therefore, the union was left with no other choice but to exercise the only remaining constitutional right to try and get this activity to be going. And that's why we issued the notice. Then thereafter, after we've issued the notice, is when the ministry called for the first negotiations, which actually did not happen on 16th, as the minister is saying. They started on 18th, and subsequently we had another one on 23rd, and then the last one was on 28th. So throughout all these negotiations, SRC was missing.
But then are you not exposing yourself to have perhaps a later ruling that would not favor you, because you're then putting the strike notice that you gave in the time you did above an order of the court that all parties be allowed to engage, that yes, they did not sit you down in the time that was supposed to, but now that you're sitting and talking and negotiations are ongoing, why not await the SRC to come into play?
So we've not seen any goodwill from the side of the government, because for the past 3 meetings, the same agreement that we had in 2013 is what we are discussing. And yet in the pending issue was that SRC was to give an input on the same. So up to now, SRC has not given any input. Treasury is also silent. They've not given any input. And therefore, all that was required was for them to give an input. Then following that, the discussions would go on. And remember, we gave a 21-day notice when they did not obey the court order. And this 21-day notice had not expired. We've had 21 days to engage, but they've not yet brought the relevant people to the table. That is Treasury and SRC.
So for those who may be watching this and are not versed with this agreement, what does it entail?
So the agreement seeks to capture the working conditions of doctors, which range from working hours, they range from promotions, resignations, and touching also on salaries of the workers. So these salaries are the area that, it's the part that was not implemented because it was lacking an input from SRC, the part of the salaries. And since we came back, the court told us that we need to agree on those figures with SRC after they give their input on what they think the doctors should be earning in this country. But we've seen the report that has come out. It just gave bands, but it did not give any specific values of how doctors in this country should be paid.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's also the question of backdating.
Yes.
So you want all of these issues to go back those past 3 years?
Yes.
Is the ministry agreeable, or are they negotiating to have it start from this moment?
So remember, you only negotiate on timelines once the figures have been agreed upon. So as we speak right now, the figures that we signed or agreed upon in 2013 have not received any input from SRC. So once that happens, then now we can negotiate on how far back they are supposed to backdate it. And as far as we are concerned, we are expecting that the payment be made all the way back to 2013 June when the collective bargaining agreement was signed.
All right, we'll continue with this conversation. I want us to cross